Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including Tesla's latest incentive expiring soon, new leaks of the updated Model S and X, the tax credit going away, and more, so let's get into it, and a special thanks to EV Dance for sponsoring this video. First up today, we talk a lot about Tesla safety on this channel and the safety testing that Tesla continues passing incredibly well. Over in Europe, Tesla just had results come in for the new refreshed Model 3 from Euro NCAP, and it performed incredibly well. It received a 5-star overall rating from Euro NCAP and got 90% for adult occupant, 93% for child occupant, 89% for vulnerable road users, and 87% for safety assist. It's always great to see the results from different countries because not only are these third-party agencies, but they're different countries with different criteria. And as such, results are in from a new agency, ANCAP. This was posted by Tesla's Australia and New Zealand page saying Model 3 earns a 5-star overall safety rating from ANCAP, achieving 95% in the child occupant protection pillar, the highest result recorded to date against ANCAP's 2023 to 2025 criteria. When we look at the full results here, Tesla got 90% for adult occupant protection, 95% for child occupant protection, 89% for vulnerable road user protection, and then 88% for safety assist. Just for comparison, the normal Toyota Camry got 95% for adult occupant protection, so it's a little safer there, but then 87% for child occupant, so a little lower. Vulnerable road users and safety assist are also a decent amount lower in the Toyota Camry. Those were specifically the numbers for the hybrid variants of the Toyota Camry. So the results keep stacking up for this refreshed Model 3, and I'm excited to see the results come in for the refreshed Model Y. We of course still have NHTSA and IIHS in the United States, and then eventually we'll get Euro NCAP, ANCAP, and more. Judging by how Tesla's performing with the new Model 3 though, it seems the new Model Y will also do exceptionally well, which is always a great part about Tesla vehicles. Next up today, over at the Nürburgring track, we recently spotted two different vehicles being tested by Tesla. The first was clearly the new Model Y Performance, and it has new wheels as well as a lowered suspension, but other than that, we can't really tell much of a difference here. It seems like this might be a fairly minor cosmetic change for the Performance Model Y compared to what they did with the Performance Model 3, very much differentiating the Performance model with a different front bumper. In any case, at the same time that Model Y Performance was spotted, which should be coming around the corner, we saw the new Model S refresh. This one has camouflage on the front and rear, and it's somewhat hiding a more aggressive look. It has an additional front lip on the front bumper, and then new wheels. They seem to be similar to the current Arachnid wheels, but different, and perhaps this is an updated version of the track package wheels that Tesla offers on the Model S Plaid as an upgrade. It is a very expensive upgrade at $20,000. So as for a timeline for when this car might get released, we do expect it to come a little bit soon here. One, if Tesla's out testing it on the Nürburgring, that usually means it's around the corner in some fashion. But on top of that, Tesla has changed the deal on unlimited supercharging for their vehicles. It's now only available on cars that you buy in inventory, and it's of course specifically for the Model S and X. They're offering lifetime free supercharging as long as you take delivery of a car that is in inventory, and it even says it on the main website. Quote, free supercharging on inventory. That would of course indicate that they're trying to drive people that are going to get these cars to take delivery of inventory so that they can clear it out and get ready for a new vehicle. And that new vehicle wasn't just spotted at the Nürburgring. It has now been spotted by the Kilowatts over by Tesla's factory. This is a plaid Model S that was spotted, and the front bumper is clearly updated here. It's unclear if this is Tesla's new design or if they're just testing different things, but this also has a front bumper camera, which is definitely new from Tesla. It even has carbon fiber integrated into that front bumper behind the Tesla logo. This has manufacturer plates in the back and an updated rear diffuser that appears to match the car that they were testing over in Germany. As for the interior, this car, along with the Model X, are the last to get Tesla's updated LED bars that are customizable and RGB in their vehicles. Now the Model 3, Y, and Cybertruck have this, but the Model S and X have not been upgraded to get this. So it seems like this car is getting that update, which has been rumored for quite some time, and then Tesla has simply taped over it in these prototype models. Overall, it's the same steering wheel and same everything else when it comes to the interior, as far as we can tell. But then the Kilowatts also spotted a new Model X refresh. This is clearly a new version of the Model X because it also has that front bumper camera integrated. It's the same situation with the interior LED light strip that is taped over, and it seems to indicate the shape of that strip on each door panel, which drops a little at the back. Then, when we look at the rear seats, it's the same situation, covering up that LED light bar. It is kind of funny because it shows us exactly what it is, but maybe it's not functional or it's in a raw form or missing it entirely, so they just taped over it to make it look a little better or worse in the process. Not really sure. But those cars so far have had Tesla's normal paint colors, but this Model X was spotted with a brand new color. This is an updated blue color that we haven't seen from Tesla before, and of course this car has that front bumper camera, and then when you look at a close-up on the wheels, we can see that these are brand new wheels. They appear to be a new type of aero wheel that does not have the caps integrated within it. This is a close-up on that new color, but then the Kilowatts also posted a great video driving past the new Model X. This is a color that seems to be fairly similar to the Glacier Blue color that Tesla is now shipping on the Model Y exclusively out of Shanghai for the time being. But this one does appear to be slightly different. It has a little bit more of a pastel look compared to that Glacier Blue that Tesla is shipping now. So it will be great to see a new color come on the new Model X. And overall, this seems to be that refresh that Lars Moravy talked about earlier this year, that he said would be coming later this year. Now, it is worth noting he didn't say there's going to be a major refresh of these cars. He basically just said we're going to give these cars a little love later this year. And it seems like that's basically what we're getting, just a little bit of love. Here are a few more close-ups of what this new paint color looks like, and the Kilowatts specifically says that this is not a wrap, and you can absolutely tell that this is factory paint from Tesla, not aftermarket. So when it comes to the refresh of these two cars, what people really want is to see a complete upgrade to the styling, something that truly differentiates these cars from previous years, like what they've done with the Model 3 and Y. Now, when you look at the new Model 3 and Y from the side, they do look pretty much exactly the same. Pretty much all the way around, a keen eye can tell the difference from today's model versus previous ones, and probably will be able to tell the difference with these updated ones, I guess by looking at that front bumper camera, but in general, these cars have not changed in something like a decade. So people really want to see a complete style change here, and then see upgrades to the architecture like they did with the Cybertruck. That would be an 800-volt high-voltage architecture, enabling much faster charging speeds, and then a 48-volt low-voltage architecture, which enables certain features like steer-by-wire. Steer-by-wire could be something that really makes for the ultimate track experience on the Plaid models of these cars. And then the updated architecture could also make these cars capable of Tesla's power share capabilities that they only deliver on the Cybertruck today. Then people really want to see improved performance and just a number of things like this that really take these cars to the next level and make them feel more luxurious. But what it looks like is we're probably just getting a new color, maybe multiple new colors, new wheels that are updated, an LED strip inside that matches their other cars, and then pretty much just minor design changes from there. There will probably be some things that we hear about under the surface of this car, but in general, this is basically bringing these two cars up to date with the current Model Y. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, EV-Dance. EV-Dance is a leading provider of EV extension cables and an expert in solving charging distance challenges and delivering reliable charging solutions. This 40-foot extension cable has made my life so much easier by allowing me to charge at busy EV chargers. I have a long, narrow driveway and multiple cars, so in order to charge, I usually have to shuffle my vehicles around to park close enough for the cable to reach. Now though, I can just pull in and it will always reach, so I can even charge all the way from the street. This isn't just any extension cable though, it's built to withstand the elements. It's waterproof, dustproof, and reliable in extremely cold weather down to negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit. EV-Dance is now offering the Pulse Fusion NACS DC to CCS1 adapter for pre-order as well. This adapter allows Tesla superchargers to charge EVs with a CCS1 port by converting DC to AC. It's available at an early bird price of $99.99 when it's regularly $199.99, so don't miss out. On top of that, check out this extremely useful extension cable for yourself. Visit evdances.com or click the link in the description below and use code EVD20Ryan for 20% off on all purchases. The updated Model Y actually seems to be Tesla's most up-to-date car, and of course it's the newest, so it makes sense, but the Model S and X are lagging behind at this point. So many will be disappointed, but when we look at Tesla's sales numbers, it really just makes sense. For Q1, Tesla sold 323,800 Model 3s and Ys, and then they sold a total of 12,881 of all other models, and that number includes the Model S and X and Cybertruck combined. So these cars are just not their main priority. they don't sell too many of them each quarter. Now, of course, there's the argument to be made that they would sell more of them if they were to do a major refresh, and I think there is some validity to that argument, because delivering a lot of these premium features and maybe even making these cars faster to charge, or including a much bigger range, something getting close to 500 miles or so, like they originally said they would do on the Plaid Plus Model S, that could be something that leads to a lot more sales, and takes on the customers that are going to something like the Lucid Air. But again, this market just isn't as big as Tesla likes to focus on, with cars like the Model Y and of course that future robotaxi. So perhaps we'll see some performance improvements to the Plaid model taking on the Lucid Air Sapphire and more, but overall it seems like both of these cars will probably stay relatively the same and get a minor refresh, bringing it up to date with the front bumper camera, LED strip, and a couple other cosmetic changes. What are your thoughts on this Model S and X refresh though? Are you disappointed, or does it really just make sense that it's all small changes? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. Next up today, one of the biggest incentives Tesla has been offering to drive vehicle sales lately is an APR incentive. This is something we see across the industry a ton on new vehicle sales. And right now, Tesla is offering 0% financing for 60 months on the Model 3. It's a really great deal that in some cases can save you upwards of $7,000 compared to financing with normal rates. In practice, this means it can save you over $100 a month on your car payment. So it's a very big savings there that saves you a lot and is available today on the Model 3 with no expiration date. We don't know how long this will be around, but for the Model Y, Tesla is offering, specifically on the all-wheel drive trim of the refreshed Model Y, 1.99% APR financing, but now they have set a deadline of June 16th. This most likely means that you'll have to order by then and then probably take delivery before the quarter closes out. That's what Tesla usually does, but I haven't seen the full details here yet. It was a bit surprising to see this incentive already added to Tesla's brand new vehicle, so in some ways it makes sense that it might be going away. On top of this, come June 16th, Tesla is also ending the deal of a $499 per month lease with $1,000 down. Seemingly this will go back to $3,000 down. So for many, this raises the question, well, do I buy now? Is this the right time to buy? Well, everything's a bit up in the air because of the EV tax credit, which appears to be going away by the end of the year, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. But it does seem like we should have the rest of the year with that EV tax credit in place if you qualify for it. So let's talk about Tesla's APR incentives as of late on the Model Y. Here's a brief history. From May 10th to 31st of 2024, Tesla offered 0.99% APR. They announced that this was ending, and then it was gone for the entirety of June. Then come July 18th of 2024, Tesla reintroduced an APR incentive of 1.99%. Of course, not as good as 0.99%, but it did return with an incentive, and that ended on September 30th. So that was gone for about 21 days, and then 0% was introduced from October 31st to December 15th. So that's a far better deal there than that 1.99%. 0% is, of course, a big deal. And so customers who actually waited about 3 weeks or waited beyond that time of this to expire and then for them to reintroduce one got a much better deal. That 0% was in place and then ended at the end of last year with the old version of the Model Y. Then the new one was introduced with first deliveries starting in March, and by May they had already introduced this 1.99% that is in place right now. So based on recent history right here, and with nothing really changing as far as a ton of explosive demand for the current version of the Model Y, it seems like this June 16th deadline will happen, and then something new might come about. Based on typical timelines in the past, we would expect a timeline of maybe late June to July of 2025 for Tesla to reintroduce an incentive. However, the quarter ends on June 30th, so I'm curious to see what they do there. They might expire this 1.99% and then a couple days later introduce an even better one to really drive end of quarter sales, but they probably don't even know exactly what they're going to do until we get there. It seems that they just offer this at a whim when they really need to drive sales, and they always seem to have that end of quarter push, which might be especially important for Q2 after a rough Q1 when it came to sales numbers. They really want to rebuild here. So the pattern is typically that Tesla will advertise the ending of this incentive, let it expire briefly, and then 2 to 4 weeks later, introduce something new, sometimes better, sometimes a little bit worse. But especially if inventory is high or they need that end of quarter push, at least in recent history, they've been offering something new. So I'm curious to see what they do here. Of course, this is by no means a guarantee that another incentive is coming to be. So if the money makes sense for you to buy a car with features that you like today, you should probably go for it, and you'll get that EV tax credit while it's in place. But at the very least, it feels like something could be coming later this year, some new incentive. Especially as Tesla ships and starts scaling up that rear-wheel drive Model Y, we could see the inventory grow there, and then them need to offer something to drive more and more sales. Maybe this will expire in June and they'll close out Q2 without anything else, but it feels like something else is right around the corner. And then by the end of the year, they could very well be advertising, act now to save $7,500 before this tax credit goes away. So speaking of that tax credit, we've been hearing since the start of this new administration that EV tax credit is probably on the chopping block, but we haven't gotten official details there, and it seemed to kind of fall by the wayside at least for a little bit. But this is interesting because it's the party that Elon wanted, but the tax credit will no doubt harm Tesla at least for the immediate future. Of course, they're going to take advantage of it when it's there, but they still quote the prices of their cars with this tax credit on their website, saying the Model Y starts at $37,490 after $7,500 of a federal tax credit. Of course, if it's in place, they're going to take advantage of that, but it does seem like their cars are going to get immediately more expensive, and that is their bread and butter. There are various arguments on all sides of this thing, but of course, in the immediate, it does seem like it will have an effect for them. As a brief history for the EV tax credit, this was originally introduced in 2008. This was the Plug-in Electric Drive Vehicle Credit, and it was created by the Energy Improvement and Extension Act of 2008. It offered up to $7,500 for qualifying EVs based on battery capacity, but it was phased out for manufacturers after they sold 200,000 qualifying vehicles. So in some sense, this de-incentivized companies because the top two, Tesla and GM, were disqualified for actually making a lot of EVs. Then this all changed under the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. It replaced that vehicle cap and had new eligibility rules. The credit still remains today up to $7,500, and it's split between critical minerals and where they are sourced, and then battery components and where they are sourced. As of 2024, there are income caps, price caps, and you must meet battery and supply chain criteria to get the full credit. And the credit is available at the point of sale. There's also a used EV credit in place up to $4,000 or 30% off the sale price, and this applies to EVs over 2 years old and under $25,000. So that's where it's at this point. But just recently, the House passed a new tax bill, which if passed through the Senate, will get rid of this EV tax credit entirely. If this all passes, it will mean that EV tax credit officially ends on December 31st, 2025. This will also have a big effect on solar, since this would get rid of solar tax credits, so we've seen the stock market responding in certain ways to different companies that will be massively affected by this. One interesting caveat is that for automakers that do sell fewer than 200,000 EVs by 2025, such as Rivian and Lucid, they may continue to benefit from the existing credit through taxable year 2026. So they'll have a little bit of a longer runway, but it's still going to phase out for them. The other interesting thing here is that the Senate voted to revoke California's authority to set its own vehicle emissions standards, which have been adopted by several other states. So they did this because of California's influence. California in itself is one of the largest EV markets in the entire world. So when they make a requirement, automakers really have to respond because of how much demand is there. So it affects the whole country, and that seems to be what they're trying to eliminate here. But California does plan to fight back on this decision so that they can really set their own emission standards for the state within itself. There's of course a lot of discussion going on with all sides of this argument, but Elon Musk's view at Tesla is that it has always been Tesla's view that all subsidies should be eliminated, but that must include the massive subsidies for oil and gas. At least for right now, it doesn't seem like that's the case, and it just seems like we're getting rid of EV subsidies. Long term though, EVs need to be able to survive on their own. It's just for right now, they haven't been able to come down in price. But some would argue that this may be the thing that actually gets those prices lower and drives the innovation to actually bring down the cost at the base level of these cars, instead of companies maybe relying on a tax credit to be able to sell their cars at a higher cost. On Tesla's Q1 earnings report, they said, quote, "Given economic uncertainty resulting from changing trade policy, more affordable options are as critical as ever. As we approach the end of the year, if this tax credit is disappearing, of course Tesla is going to incentivize people to order now and buy now before this disappears, and it seems there probably will be somewhat of a big rush for the entire electric vehicle market throughout 2025 for customers to take advantage while this is still here. But then 2026 will come, and it will be very important that EV companies can actually lower their prices, and Tesla is very much included there because they only sell electric vehicles. Other companies will probably pivot a little more to focusing on their gas vehicles since they won't have these requirements. But for Tesla, they have to sell electric cars, and they have to be able to get the cost of their cars down. They're banking a lot on the robotaxi and the future there, and their Optimus project and everything going into the future. But for the immediate, I'm very curious to see what they can do with their electric vehicles. We know they're planning a stripped back version of the Model Y, as well as the Model 3, and hopefully they can actually get that to a lower cost that really makes sense for customers without any EV tax credit, since it might not be in place anymore. But what are your thoughts on this EV tax credit situation? Do you think it's going to disappear? Do you think it will massively affect Tesla? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Leave a comment below to let me know your thoughts. In any case, that's all the latest Tesla news for today. So in the meantime, if you want to see my top tips and tricks for the latest version of the Model 3 and Y, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.